Art museums have long been compared to monumental ceremonial structures such as Renaissance palaces and Greek or Roman temples due to an abiding tradition of museums appropriating architectural forms from monuments of the past. From the 18th through the mid 20th centuries, these cultural institutions were deliberately constructed to resemble buildings consecrated to religious ceremonies of worship. In fact, major Western cities like Munich, London, Berlin, Washington, and many others built museums whose facades looked like Greek or Roman temples. The Louvre curator Germain Barza wrote that an art museum is a temple where time seems suspended. The visitor enters the museum in the hope of finding one of those momentary cultural epiphanies that give him or her the illusion of knowing intuitively his or her essence and strengths. Summarizing a subject of discussion into just one word has always been a daunting task. Yet, with the Germain Barza's passage, it could be easily synopsized in one word: liminality. The term liminality was coined by the Belgian folklorist Arnold van Gennep and further developed in the anthropological writings of Victor Turner to indicate a state of consciousness outside, betwixt and between the normal, everyday cultural and social discourses and practices. Turner soon realized that his concepts of liminality could pertain to modern Western notions of the aesthetic experience. Indeed, aspects of liminality could be experienced during such activities as attending the theater, watching a movie, or visiting an art exhibition, like folk rituals that temporarily suspend the limiting patterns of normal social behavior. These cultural situations create a realm in which individuals can move beyond the practical concerns and social engagements of everyday life and look at themselves and their world with unprecedented thoughts and elevated feelings. Cultural anthropologists have discovered that every culture, Western or non Western, demonstrates some symbolic attempt to deny the irreversibility of time and reveals the universal longing for contact with an idealized past or with things filled with mythological figures or immortal spirits. Therefore, no wonder that liminality is inherently associated with ritual, which usually involves an aspect of performance taking place on a specific site designed for the enactment or reenactment of a myth. In art museums, however, it is the museum visitor who enacts the ritual. The phenomenon resembles Romanesque and Gothic medieval cathedrals where pilgrims followed a structured narrative route through the interior, stopping at prescribed points for prayer or contemplation in such places as Santiago de Compostela or Notre Dame de Paris. Similarly, art museums offer well developed ritual scenarios in the form of art historical narratives through a series of spaces. Even when visitors enter museums to see only selected artworks, the museum's large narrative structure gives a frame of reference and provides context to individual works. In this respect, the ad hoc function of an art museum is to present works of art as objects of aesthetic contemplation and not as representative of historical information or archaeological evidence. In essence, aesthetic contemplation is a deeply private and profoundly transformative experience when an imaginative encounter occurs between artists and viewers. The curator of Boston's Museum of Fine Arts, Benjamin Alvis Gilman, compares this phenomenon to the sacred conversations represented in Italian altarpieces, scenes in which saints who had lived in different centuries magically come together in a single imaginary space and contemplate the Madonna, like Duccio's famous Maesta. From Gilman's perspective, the modern aesthete visiting an art museum becomes a disciple, a devotee who attains secular grace in a liminal space through communion with artistic geniuses of the past. Eternal spirits that provide a life-redeeming sustenance, and the end result is the exalted experience filled with an intense emotion and an overwhelming sensual gratification that contains a profound spiritual revelation.